Good morning, campers. Welcome to Radio Camp Half-Blood, a Percy Jackson read-along podcast. I am your host, Zach.
And I'm B.
And this week, we read another chapter of Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. Woo!
We sure did.
This week, we read chapter 17, We Shop for a Waterbed.
And they sure do. Well, sort of.
I mean, I don't like waterbeds. Waterbeds are, stupid.
They freak me out a little bit, not gonna lie.
The only people that have, waterbeds are Aquaman and sad individual people that don't realize comfort. It's all about that firmness of a mattress, not,
There's something very disorienting about a waterbed that I don't like. Just getting out of one feels like a whole ordeal. Also, I remember seeing some sort of medical drama when I was a kid about someone who had a bad back and they were trapped on a waterbed that was leaking water and they couldn't get him out and it was sinking and releasing water everywhere. Also, for some reason, there was a giant tarantula. I don't know. If someone knows what show I'm talking about, let me know, because it's traumatized me and I don't even remember what show it was.
That reminds me of, there's a comic that saw a person that an irrational fear of sharks, who's he closes his toilet, he doesn't turn on the shower, and he gets into his bed with his wife, and he's wait a second, is this a waterbed? And all of a sudden a shark comes out of the waterbed. That's
sort of the plot of this chapter. Not at all, really. There is a shark, though.
So, B, what did you think of this chapter?
I like this chapter. It was kind of exciting to finally, be in California, the place we've been moving toward for the past few chapters.
Don't you mean, a couple weeks?
Yeah.
Right now, I'm kind of getting over a cold, so, I have, vocal fry right now, so I can kind of talk like a valley girl, just a little bit, oh my god.
I just imagine, Percy just, destroying something with Riptide and then just being should I leave a note?
Oh my. And now it's the part where they get on the freeway and they just start panicking, which is the best part of Clueless.
Yeah, I like this chapter. It was fun to see more, cool mythology stuff embedded into, human life. I always find that fun. We're gonna get to that a little bit later when we get to the part about the waterbeds. But I kind of have, some questions about how this universe works, I guess, a little bit.
Sure, what do you want to know? Let's see if I can help you answer those.
I guess, it seems every time Percy and friends go anywhere, they seem to encounter someone who's, the proprietor or something of, a human-seeming place that actually ends up to be some sort of, mythological figure. And I'm just wondering if that's, because he's Percy Jackson and, those things are drawn to him, and also he happens to be, in the more mythical areas of the United States, or is it so common that if you were to go into a random store, there is a strong likelihood that that person will actually be someone trying to trick or trap you in some way because you're a demigod? I wonder, how that works.
Well, I'm going to answer this the best way I can by talking about Doctor Who.
Okay.
So, there's an episode of Doctor Who with Neil Gaiman, I believe it's called The Doctor's Wife, where the TARDIS comes to life. And it kind of explains, the Doctor, travels around in his TARDIS, and is it that he's, subsequently going towards danger, or does he just automatically just get drawn to danger in these conflicts because time and destiny needs him to be there to solve these problems? Or that, the universe is quintessentially screwed beyond belief? It's kind of the same here. It's is Percy Jackson inadvertently, going to these places because the story dictates it, or is it because of destiny, pulling the strings of his fate to go to these places?
Yeah, there is the concept of fate in this universe, so I guess it makes a lot of sense that he would encounter many challenges specifically involved with the mythological stuff. Because, traveling across the country, right, and doing what he's doing, he's bound to encounter actual human problems too, not just because he's wanted right now and people think that he's some sort of rampaging, disturbed child, but also the fact that, you could run into any kind of insane people. I guess that kind of happens in this chapter to some extent.
Yeah, also it's kind of if you pay attention to the situations that lead them to these events, they're all usually with they're being intervened by something, such as in this chapter there's the gang of these hoodlum kids that try to like stick them up, so they inadvertently run to the first store that they see.
Yeah, I guess the hoodlum kids are mortal because Riptide doesn't work on them. So there is like also human trials and tribulations. I guess up until this chapter, it hasn't been so clear that there was a lot of like human interference with their quest so much as like Percy specifically had sort of like a wanted thing going on, and also just every place they seemed to go there was another like mythological person who was waiting in the wings to trick them somehow.
Same as with, okay, so how they got to Medusa's was that Zeus shot a lightning bolt out their bus and they kind of ran into the woods. So they found the first available place they saw, which was Medusa. And also in this chapter, they talk about how, the gods can't, indirectly help them, but they can do it, like, from the sidelines a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a possibility of, like, they're kind of, like, they go to these places because they'll get either a clue or they'll get a better understanding of the situation that will lead them to their next location, more importantly. And, I mean, in this chapter, I guess we should talk about how it opens up because I find it really funny. So they're in Vegas, and Annabeth has this brilliant idea. We're going to take a taxi all the way to Los Angeles. It's about
Finally, let's get a taxi. It won't be $1 million.
So what happens is they get into this taxi cab with, like, I'm just going to say it's Judd Hirsch from Taxi, because that's the way to describe it.
Yeah. Isn't that, which character is that from Taxi?
That's the main guy. Judd Hirsch is the main person.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. For a second, I thought you were talking about the, Christopher Lloyd character, but that's clearly not it.
I would love if Christopher Lloyd character was in that.
He's Reverend Jim, though,
Yeah,
right?
he's Reverend Jim, but he would be crazy, and he wouldn't, like, pick up their fare. Because he smoked one marijuana, and that was it. Oh, man, the entire show is, like, golden. If no one has ever seen Taxi, it is a masterpiece of comedy.
Is there, a Taxi podcast?
If there isn't, I would love to do a Taxi podcast.
I feel like anytime we mention anything that we like, we're like, we could.
Then I'd have to check if there's the Andy Coughcast.
That's true. I'm sure. Are you saying that there is, or that you just assume there is an Andy Coughcast?
I'm just assuming there has to be an Andy Kaufman podcast. You know what? The joke would be that Andy Kaufman is doing the podcast about himself.
Oh, wow. That's incredibly meta. Hold on. Now I have to search it because the curiosity has gotten the best of me. I think there's a couple.
So they hop into the cab and they give, like, the cabbie the credit card they got from the Lotus Casino. And, like, it instantly works, no problem. And it gives them, like, an infinity sign. So, here's the problem that I found. You know what the first thing I thought of about this?
Yeah.
Is boom, they just fixed the world economy.
Or they deeply messed it up.
Oh, no.
Because if everybody has eternal money, I don't know. I don't understand how capitalism works.
Whoever controls the credit card controls the world's money supply. Ha ha ha.
So, like normal rich people.
You know what this reminded me of? Because this was really funny. This reminded me of... Did you ever read Firestarter by Stephen King?
I did not.
This scene almost emulates the beginning of the book where the main character gets into a taxi and only has $2 and he needs to go to the airport, which is like 3 or 4 miles, or I think maybe like a $30-$40 fare, and he needs to get there discreetly. So he uses his his mind powers, because he doesn't have Firestarter powers, to trick the cabbie into believing that he gives him $100 bill.
So it's kind of like the Jedi mind trick a little bit. Like, you are actually seeing a $1 bill. Wait, well, no, that would be a weird trick. It's like, actually, I gave you $100 and you think it's $1.
Ha ha ha.
That would really suck.
Kinda, but it's like, it's almost the same here, and it's like, you get to keep the change as long as you do exactly what I say. So the cabbie starts driving at like 99 miles an hour. Like, the speedometer doesn't dip underneath like 88. And if you've ever been to Vegas, to California, which I have, it is a straight shot. And it roughly takes, to get to my house, about 3 or 4 hours. So just imagine driving at 80, 90 miles an hour in the middle of open desert.
That makes me a little sick just thinking about it. I've only been in a car going that fast exactly one time. I don't want to put my friend on blast, the friend who is driving that fast.
Well, I mean,
but
I've made the trip to Vegas in under 2 hours before, because Hello, police officers and highway patrol. Please do not send me a ticket. It was the middle of the night. I learned my lesson. I had put on the Mad Max Fury Road OST, and I was getting really super into it. To the point where I wasn't realizing what the speedometer was going to.
I mean, that's kind of what that soundtrack is made for.
Also, you're in the middle of the desert and pitch, like, there was no one on the road.
That's really funny, honestly. Yeah, the only time I've ever gone that fast in a car was me and my friends missed a train, and so we got into my friend's car. And she drove like 99 miles an hour. It was...
Oh, so you can be right next to the train so you can finish up your train robbery on time?
Yeah, exactly. It was a heist.
I just like imagine like, okay, B, you have to get on the roof. Steady. Oh no, the bridge up ahead is out. You're gonna have to jump, everybody.
Basically, I was supposed to pick someone up from the train station on the other side. And because we missed our train, we were probably not going to be able to be there on time. And so we just sped really fast. And my life kind of flashed before my eyes there. I think she's sped that fast before, and she's told me the story where she got pulled over and she just burst into tears. And the cop was just like so confused that he let her go. He was like, "Are you okay? Did something happen?" Like trying to figure out like maybe she's escaping from something, but she was just like reflexively cried at this man, and he was like, you can go, just be careful."
It kind of reminds me of did I ever tell you the story about how when I first got my driver's license, I was at a 4-way stop sign and I didn't see the person to the left because it's all like the word right away. So I start going. And, like, the car next to me, because there was, like, a weird blind spot. I noticed I stopped. Like, oh, man, I feel really bad about it. So I keep going. And the car behind me assumed that I was trying to cut off the person. So they pull up to the side of me. They start flipping me off. I slowly start decelerating my car. They're accelerating. Guess what happened? So they're flipping off. And in front of me is a police officer.
Oh, right. Yes, I think you've told me this story.
So I'm decelerating, they're accelerating. Guess what? They get eye level to the cop, and they're still flipping, technically me off. So they're flipping off the cop.
That's really funny.
So the cop pulls him over.
Oh, karma. That's great. Yeah, that's always really great when I'm going the speed limit and some really jerky person like cuts me off or just speeds past me at like twice the speed limit, and then immediately they get pulled over and I'm like, I told you, I was going the speed limit for a reason.
So they're speeding around and they get to Los Angeles in like 3 or 4 hours, and they go to Santa Monica, which actually, you want to know something, a fun fact about Santa Monica, B?
Sure.
That is where I finished the end by Lemony Snicket.
Oh, really?
On the beach, yeah.
That works really well, actually, to read that on a beach.
Because my sister...
Sorry, I'll let you finish.
I find this whole chapter really funny because they get to Santa Monica, and the way to describe it is basically... The way I would describe Santa Monica is how Rick Riordan described it, meaning that on vacation he had like a really stellar observation of it. There were carnival rides lining the pier, palm trees lining the sidewalks, homeless guys sleeping in the sand dunes, and surfer dudes waiting for the perfect wave.
That sounds nice.
That basically sums up Santa Monica. Especially, I just saw a really cool performance there. It was a little one-act play. Because in Santa Monica, there's a famous old-timey merry-go-round, or I like to call it like horse tornado. They did a whole play on this merry-go-round, and it was amazing.
I was going to say that when I was a kid, I feel like I really romanticized California or like that kind of surfer dude lifestyle. Like I watched a lot of Rocket Power, and I really wanted to go to like skate parks and surf.
Gnarly, dude.
I don't know why that was like my dream to be that person.
But why was it California? They didn't live in they lived in like Hawaii.
They lived in Hawaii, basically. Yeah, but like the same kind of like beach, I guess, life. It's the Pacific Ocean, regardless.
Yeah, it sucks. So, especially like living in California, you don't realize that no one goes to the beach unless like we're of that time where it's like Beach Boys and like tie-dye.
I guess technically you could surf in the Atlantic.
Except you'll die a slow, painful death.
It depends on how cold it is. For most of the year, you probably should not surf in the Atlantic.
I mean, the beautiful thing though about Santa Monica, I've talked about before, is it is the exact end of Route 66, so they've made it cross country from New York to good old California, which I've done a plane trip where I've seen the Pacific and flown all the way to the Atlantic. Like, wait, the ocean's on the wrong side. It's supposed to be on the left, not the right.
Maps are arbitrary. None of it makes sense.
But, so they get there, and the first thing that Percy does is he just like, maybe I should try drowning myself. So he walks into the water.
Yeah. He just walks to the water like, spoiler alert for Breaking Bad, but like Skylar. Skylar White when she walks into the pool in Breaking Bad and everyone's like, Skylar, are you okay? Are you trying to kill yourself? Or is this some sort of weird performance art piece?
Yeah, and Percy does the exact same thing, and like he just goes under the water, and Annabeth's like freaking out. And of course, Percy has Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy powers.
Do they both have powers? I feel like Barnacle Boy doesn't have powers.
They can breathe underwater, and they have the power of being old.
Yeah, I never really got why they were the same size as SpongeBob, but that's a whole other story.
Or SpongeBob is the exact size of a human person. Ever think
Which
of
is
that?
horrifying to think about, really. If you saw a human-sized SpongeBob SquarePants, imagine just the visceral, like, surreality and sublimity of witnessing the nightmarish visage of a giant sea sponge with like a hat and bulging eyes and a tie for some reason.
You know what? That's not
like
even the scariest one. You know what would be the scariest one be?
Patrick or Squidward.
No, Sandy Cheeks, because that means she's the same size as SpongeBob.
Oh, you're right. An enormous squirrel.
So you just see like this squirrel in this apparatus,
Yeah, like a weird Bioshock squirrel.
and then she starts speaking in a Texas accent, and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, just drawling and playing the guitar. Does she play the guitar or the banjo? I don't remember.
I wanna go home. I wanna go home.
I wonder how many people still watch SpongeBob.
I still watch SpongeBob. Not newer SpongeBob, but older SpongeBob.
I think they're finally ending.
No, they're going strong.
No?
No.
I thought I heard that they were finally having a last season.
No. They just tweeted that the new season's out. Everyone misconstrued it or misunderstood it.
It's sort of like The Simpsons of children's entertainment. It just kind of will keep going on forever.
Hey, I can like say the night episode verbatim, and also the squeaky boots. They're here under the floorboards. Can't you hear the infernal squeak? Mr. Krabs,
yeah.
Why did you eat my shoes?
The actor who plays Mr. Krabs is
Bill Murray's brother.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
No, he's not.
Wait, no. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. That's the Flying Dutchman. That's Clancy Brown, the guy that voices amazing things. He's also in Highlander, and also
Detroit become human now, and it's so funny to like see Mr. Krabs as like a washed up alcoholic detective who hates androids.
No, I mean, it's like, for me, I love Clancy Brown in Highlander, but I love him so much in, have you seen Thor Ragnarok? He voices the
I have not.
Fire Lord Surtur. He's also in every military, he's in The Flash as well.
Yeah, his voice is good for a lot of different things.
I also think he's done
Anyway.
anime, too. If I'm not mistaken.
That's pretty funny to think about. Where were we in the plot of the book we're supposed to be talking
Hi, welcome
about?
to the Clancy Brown podcast. All we want to get
That'd
is
be kind of fun.
Clancy Brown's attention.
I would love a podcast where they just talk to different voice actors.
Yeah, it is. There's the one with Paul, the guy that voices like every major, like the Nerdist does something like that. We'll do like reenactments of like famous scenes, but with their characters' voices, and they'll just talk about voice acting. So Percy starts to go deep down to the bowels of the water, and this is where
Bowels of the water, a very disgusting phrase I never want to hear again.
so he goes into the Devil's Gulch, which is I don't want to say it is pretty much like the size of the Grand Canyon, but also like he makes friends with a Mako shark.
Yeah, magical Mako shark friend, because he has fishy powers. Swims up and is like, "Are you Aquaman?"
No, but like the good old shark is like, I'm your puppy now. Please hug me. And Percy hugs him, and they like go on a magical adventure where the shark like takes him farther and deeper into the water. Just imagine that aesthetic of like a shark befriending a kid. This is like
That's pretty adorable.
the girl version of like the horse movie.
Just gently petting its nose. It's okay, boy.
The formula of those horse movies are all the same. There's this rambunctious girl, and she's like, I don't care about anything ever since mom died. And dad's like, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the mom's always dead, right?
Tell me if I'm crazy or not. So it's like this rambunctious girl. He's like, Dad, you never listened to me ever since mom died. And the dad's like, oh, okay, well, you should never do anything. The world's dangerous. And all of a sudden she finds a horse either out in the wild.
It's not always a horse either. Sometimes it's a dog, or sometimes it's a reindeer. In the example of, I think there's like a Hallmark Christmas movie where it's like, is it Prancer? Prancer is a movie where like a child, I don't think, maybe it's not Hallmark. I know it was definitely on like Freeform, formerly known as ABC Family, formerly known as Fox Family.
But it's like, and then they find this wild animal, and the dad's like, you shouldn't keep it. It's a wild animal. She's like, I'm going to train this animal. And then they go on the big race, and they win the first couple, and they're going to go to the finals, and all of a sudden there's some weird BS reason why the horse has to be taken away, either because it was someone else's horse, or that it hit somebody.
Or it breaks its leg, and then it has to die, and it's really sad.
And then, like, she goes and, like, stays with the animal, comforts it, and for some reason, magically it heals itself, and they win the big race. And she finally gets the love and affection of her dad and her family. The end.
Can you imagine if an entire, like, whimsical animal movie happened within the confines of Percy Jackson? Like, he meets this shark and befriends it, and there's, like, a whole, like, that entire arc you described, and then they're like, oh, right, yes, the lightning bolt, of course, yeah, okay, I got a little distracted there.
The lightning bolt was in you the entire time, Percy. It was? It was friendship all along.
And that shark's name was Lightning Bolt.
Oh my god. I'm crying. This is beautiful. I'm not going to spoil anything about Percy Jackson, but you might have just described a plot point in something.
It's sort of like the Harry is a Horcrux thing. It's like, it was with you all along.
Really? Yes, you had the soul of a Charles Manson-esque man inside of you.
Oh, well, I didn't want that. That's not something I wanted all along.
It's okay, Harry. You have to die now for us to win.
That's kind of messed up story.
Sponsored by J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling for all of your weird, not canon needs.
So he goes down and he actually befriends the Queen Water Spirit, who rides in on a gigantic, majestic seahorse.
It's adorable.
And then this sounds like the bedtime story. Then the shark and the seahorse went and played underwater tag. This sounds like a plot. Have you listened to the podcast Sleep With Me?
I have, yes.
It's like, this sounds like a plot that he says.
Like Scooter.
Yeah.
Just sitting there like, all right, welcome to Sleep With Me, a podcast that puts you to sleep. This episode we're going to be talking about Percy Jackson and his whimsical adventures with his shark friend.
Oh, hey, Scooter, if you want to like do an episode on that, we'd like love you forever. Because that show has helped me greatly with falling asleep.
Pointless meanders and creaky dulcet tones.
Oh, I love that man.
Boys and girls and friends beyond the binary. He's a nice dude. I would be friends with him, I think.
But yeah, so she starts to explain that she is... We're going to get these names wrong. I am so sorry,
Yeah, I have
guys.
no idea how to pronounce her name. Nereid?
Nereid? Let's just say Nereid, because it's kind of like...
Yeah, Nereid is what I would pronounce
Miriam?
as. Not
What?
Miriam. Nereid.
Oh, bother.
Not Miriam. That sounds like a weird grandma.
That is from Kurt's Cowardly Dog.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it sounds like a grandma because it is a grandma name.
It's kind of like having a name like Wilma, or like having a name like Nancy.
Or Gloria.
Or Gloria.
Gloria is a grandma name. No offense if your name is Gloria.
Like, be like the Grandma Gloria that like goes like skydiving and like punches sharks in the face.
Sometimes I think about the fact that in the future we'll have like a bunch of like grandparents with names
Like Harry Potter.
Like Harry Potter, or just, like names like Skylar or like Trent or something.
Grandpa Trent, Grandpa Sky. I'm going to be Grandpa Zach. Great.
I mean, Grandpa Zachary isn't too weird.
I'm going to be Grandpa Zach Attack.
But like older names, like or like more like neologism kind of names that aren't really real, I want to say.
Grandma
it's
Rainbow.
Like, yeah, like Grandma Brooklyn, you know? Nereid, a sea spirit, appears.
Hello, Percy. I see that you almost drowned several times and died almost a couple times to get here, but I have a gift for you. Because I am the spirit of the sea.
Magic sea spirit. Ooh.
Your dad is a loser, but he still loves you.
Yeah, this is kind of where she explains again that, like, they can't help their demigod children directly because of some sort of weird thing about playing favorites, so he sends a friend of his, an ally of Poseidon, to help him out, to help Percy out.
Here, Percy, I got you a gift. It's these, like, magical balls. I'm sorry, the pearls.
Not the same. Also, pearls are very rarely perfectly spherical. Here you go, here's some magic pearls. Also, she doesn't really explain what they do. She just says, if you need it, you just crush one and then it'll work out, probably. Yeah, those Deus Ex Machina kind of objects that the hero has where it's like, all right, well, if things get a little bit too much, you just, click your heels together 3 times and something will happen.
And then you'll go down to Africa with Toto.
Where you'll bless the rains.
Down in Africa. You do have, like, the Deus Ex Machina aspect of you'll only need it when you really know when you'll need it.
That's always a thing, right? And there's definitely a Harry Potter example for sure, right? Doesn't Dumbledore give him something?
It's in Deathly Hallows. It's like I'll open at the close.
Yeah, there's always like a little that at the very end you're like, you actually had this secret weapon all along with you.
Oh, it's kind of like the Sword of Gryffindor and the Sorting Hat.
Yeah.
If you're keeping track, folks, you can add another thing on your bingo board.
Yeah, they're going to get double bingo by the end of this episode, I'm sure.
I mean, there's an effective way to have Deus Ex Machina, and then there's a stupid way of having Deus Ex Machina, where it's like, I'm going to give a good example so we can add more to this bingo board. It's like in Series of Unfortunate Events with the Hot Air mobile home, which is a really good Deus Ex Machina.
Well, because it's a little bit more original. Also, it's not like literally placed in the hands of the protagonists, so they can use it later, specifically when they need it.
No, because inadvertently it doesn't work in the story, but it works for a certain aspect of it.
I find it funny when they just sort of hand the hero something like, this will come in handy to you. Wink, wink.
Well, I mean, there's also a great example of in Lord of the Rings with the Ring of Power and how it is the ultimate Deus Ex Machina, but the more you use it, the more corrupted you get. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword a little bit. And now you can use it, become invisible, except the ring wraiths will know where you are, and like you'll be possessed more by Sauron, and everyone will hate you.
Yeah, I don't know what the pearls do exactly. Like, I don't know if they have any side effects or if it's just literally like, all right, well, someone will come to help you if you crush one of these.
Man, this is a real Pearl Jam.
This is why we're friends. That right there. Yeah, you have to crush pearls instead of smashing pumpkins.
Yeah, so they get the pearls, and Percy comes out of the water, and she's like, oh yeah, it was fine. There was, like, sharks, and I think I found a fish asking, have you seen my son?
He just swims by. He's like, I'm in California. I have swam too far.
Oh no, this is Finding Dory.
Oh, that's true. I'm
looking for a blue fish. Some memory loss?
I love that movie. It makes me do the cry.
Hi, this is Sigourney Weaver, and
I'm
welcome.
Sigourney Weaver. I heard that joke 3 separate times once when I went to an aquarium.
Well, you have to. I like how Sigourney Weaver has become a meme now because of that.
Wasn't she always a little bit of a meme? I mean, have you seen that picture of her?
She's a badass.
Oh yeah, no, she's awesome. I'm just saying, like, have you seen that picture of her that was like a genuine promotional still for Alien, and it was just her with the cat, just like posing with the cat?
Yeah, so Percy emerges from the water like Godzilla on Japan.
Not quite the same.
Yeah, so they get out and they know that they need to find DOA records because now they need to go to Hades, which, my blonde brain realized something really quickly. DOA, dead on arrival.
Oh, yep. So that's definitely a bad thing.
So they start like walking around Los Angeles, and the way to describe it, depending on where they are in Los Angeles, I can believe. Like, I think they just went to like, the weird thing about LA is that there's really nice parts of LA, and then there's like gutters.
Yeah, they say that they're in West Hollywood.
Yeah, it's like one of those parts where it's like, I love West Hollywood, but there's certain parts you're not supposed to go to.
Mm-hmm. There's like nutso-butso people on the street.
Yeah, well, that's just California in general when it comes to Los Angeles.
Is that like the area where people just dress up as weird, like, sort of...
Oh, that's Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh, yeah, Hollywood Boulevard is where the janky costumed people walk around.
See, that's where I took Tyler when he came.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because we had the funniest story, which we talk about every time he comes now. So, hi, Tyler. I'm not sure if you're listening to this, but stay amazing. Was that we're walking through Hollywood Boulevard and someone gives us his mixtape.
Oh, yeah, you told me about that, and you didn't want to put it in anything because you're afraid it was like a virus.
No, that was a completely different
Oh, that was
experience.
a different mixtape?
No, that was, so there's two stories now I have to give. The first one was me and Tyler walking through Hollywood Boulevard. And, like, these two guys, like, give us their mixtape. Like, that's going to be, like, $1. Like, we don't really want to give you money. Because, we're just going to say, oh, we have cash. Oh, don't worry about it. We have the Square, so we can take it from your credit card. I'm like, no, not really. Yeah. And, like, well, fine. Then we're going to take my mixtape back. I'm like, that defeats the purpose of giving us a mixtape.
Yeah. You're supposed to do viral marketing. You give them away. If you're making people pay for it, then sorry, buddy.
And then the second time was Tyler's brother bought a mixtape.
He actually bought a mixtape.
He bought a mixtape. And Tyler was afraid that if you put it in your computer, it was going to give a virus, so he put it in my car stereo. And it was actually really good.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
That's the biggest plot twist of all.
Like, it was Jamaican rap, but it was really good.
That's hilarious. That's great. Honestly, that's the best ending to a scenario like that, because it could have been really horrible. Because it's a stranger on the street who gives you a thing. You don't know if it's going to be good.
Well, it's kind of like here, while they're walking through, they meet, like, a bunch of, like, Oliver Twist lookalikes.
Weird street urchins.
Or, you know what? They're about to rumble because this is, like, California, and they're just a bunch of greasers.
Yeah, I was going to say that they're, like, just sort of, like, Dickensian, like, artful dodger, trained delinquents, basically.
Charles Dickens was right, as one of the kids pulls out a switchblade.
Yeah, but, like, those kids, are rich, though. They don't look like street urchins.
No, they're, like, gangbangers type of, like... I would use a specific word, but I can't use it for this podcast because it's not friendly. I'm going to say they're part of the Vape Nation and hoverboards.
Okay, yes, I know exactly what word you're thinking of. Does it end in Y?
I can say the last part says boy.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the word I was also thinking of.
But yeah, so that's what I imagine. Like they're wearing they're a bunch of like dead butts.
Dead butts. I'm sorry. The doctor says your butt is dead. You have 6 weeks to live. The butt, it's just completely
so all
dead.
These bunch of like dead butts are like, hey Percy, we're gonna rob you blind for all you got, see, even though they have like $20 and some gold.
Oh, and the unlimited credit card.
That can fix the world economy.
Or break it. We don't know exactly.
So Percy does the first thing that he thinks of, and that is try to commit murder.
Yeah, just immediately just go for the murder with Riptide, but it does not work.
It does not work because they're all mortals, and they're a bunch of dead butts. So, you know what? The Riptide has standards.
You have to be magic. Not the most useful weapon, honestly.
Rick, if this was written now, it would be like, it hurts them on an emotional level.
It would be really weird if it was a sword that worked indiscriminately, because then he would just straight up murder these children. in the street.
Percy would be so paranoid at that point then, like, Annabeth, what if you're a monster? What if I'm a monster? And you know what the first thing he would do, right? When he got back to New York, he'd knock on the door of his stepfather and like put a sword through his chest.
And see if he dies.
See, he was a monster.
He just like disintegrates.
See, look, he's gushing red mist. Oh wait. Except we actually meet Gabe again in this chapter, and he's talking to
Barbara Walters.
This is
Baba Wawa.
So this is what I like to call Rick Riordan being hip with the kids.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you know how kids love Barbara Walters?
Yeah, and like so they're looking at the appliance store and they're watching this video. And if you want to think that Gabe is sleazy, this is the sleaziest out of the sleazy he could be. He's like Jabba the Hutt standard now.
He's just like lying on TV, basically.
He's lying on TV, and he has a grief counselor who, with all intents and purposes, is like... I mean, Gabe has like this ditzy grief counselor as well who kind of looks like a mixture of like Dolly Parton and I would imagine like Snooki.
I would imagine Snooki. You've never seen a picture of Snooki?
What do you think this woman looks like, his grief counselor? Because all intents and purposes, it's his new girlfriend. It's his grief girlfriend. It's his rebound bound.
I feel like she's more likely to look like Snooki than like Dolly Parton just because they are from New York. So I could easily see him dating someone who is sort of Jersey Shore-esque, to put it lightly.
It's so stupid. Like the way we talk about Gabe is like these are like offhanded jokes, but it's still so stupid. Most criminals are a bunch of narcissists, so Gabe is like he just really likes the attention. So he just makes up fake things.
Yeah, he's terrible.
Like there's certain like if you've ever watched like for me I love a lot of true crime, so like watching like people on the news that have like actually killed like their significant other or something, they basically in a sense trap themselves in their own hole by going on the news and talking about it and like laughing and like doing things that it's obvious that this person committed this crime.
It's like the O.J. Simpson, like, I didn't do it, but if I did, like...
Here's a book.
Here's a book about what I would do.
They decide to hop into a waterbed store to escape the fuzz, which is these hoodlum dead
Yeah, not
butts.
the fuzz. The opposite of the fuzz. Just kind of like really privileged, terrible children who are attacking them.
They're like chased. I just imagine if this was written now, they're being chased on hoverboards.
That'd be really funny. You could follow them with like the plume of root beer scented like vape that is emanating off of them. There, I see the vape trail.
No, you'll know where they. See, that's like a good idea for like a horror movie. They have like smell-o-vision where you're being chased by like a dead butt, and like you just start smelling just like cotton like obnoxious smells now. Because remember when like, wow, cotton candy, there's the carnival in town now. It's just like, oh great, who's vaping?
Yeah, ruined cotton candy for everybody. Ugh. I just imagine like the 12-year-olds who listen to this show being like, yeah, I vape.
This reminds me, yeah, I vape, and they're like breathing in their inhaler.
That's my version of vaping, just using my inhaler, which I don't use all the time. But one time I had an inhaler and it was like a snowstorm outside and I slipped on the ice and dropped my inhaler, like literally a cartoon character of a nerd. I was like, oh no, my inhaler. And then I left it in the snow accidentally and I had to like go trek back out and get it. Yeah.
Well, that's like me when I can't have my glasses on or like I lose my glasses. Like my glasses, I can't be seen without my glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they go into this waterbed store, which automatically they describe the man, the clerk, as someone out of the 70s and a velociraptor.
Yeah, like if a raptor was in a suit, raptor in a leisure suit. I've met someone like this. My dad would call this person a lounge lizard, is the phrase.
Is it because like they're like old and crotchety, but also trying to look stylish?
Yes.
Oh, so most people in Florida, right?
Yes, actually, I was thinking of a specific man who he knew in Florida. So you're spot on.
Well, I mean, Florida is usually like newlyweds or nearly deads.
Oh, that's very sad and true. Yeah, it's where you go to fade into the sunset.
The way to describe this man is like he is literally 7 feet tall. He has no hair except like his lapel is like out, and it's like I don't understand the appeal of like people that like. I've watched movies. There's this one movie that bothers me every time I watch it. It's called Double Exposure. Mm-hmm. Where like there's this like this old guy. He just has his shirt like completely unbuttoned, so you just see like his like he's got like this man fuzz.
Ugh. I hate that. The weird, like, David Hasselhoff, like, unbuttoned chest hair look is so distressing to me. I hate it so much. Like, wear an undershirt. You look horrible. It's a mess.
I need someone to explain to me why they think that's, like, sexy? Question mark?
The 1970s, that's why.
Oh, I forgot. I forgot they live in a time capsule. Quick, let's go back to, like, now when it's still... We can just shun them.
That's the thing. People, like, find their look during a certain decade, and then the endless march of time continues, and they're trapped in, like, their one aesthetic. I'm just thinking about all the glamour shots that my mom has of her in the 80s.
I mean, the 80s were an interesting time, but this man, the time did not go graceful for this man.
Yeah, this man was probably already, like, in his 50s when it was in the 70s, so...
Oh, God, yeah, so this guy... Like, the way to describe him, he's got, like, extremely, like Cheeto yellow teeth. And, like...
Gross teeth again.
Everything I think about this man, the more I just think of, like, mothballs and, like, cheap, fancy cologne.
I keep thinking about Saul Goodman from Better Call Saul.
That's who I would fan cast for this character.
Yeah, he would be good. Or, I'm sure there's, like, other people. Like, a sort of a skeezy guy is how I would describe him. And, of course, his name is Krusty.
Oh, God.
The worst name.
I think at that point, so if you have a name like Krusty or something that just sounds disgusting, just change your name. It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nickname, as we will discover. The worst nickname you could possibly give yourself is Krusty.
No, the worst nickname you could possibly give for someone is Moist.
Oh, why would anyone have that name? Actually, I don't want to know.
I mean, isn't there a character in, like, Ned's School Declassified named Moist? Or something like that? I'm
gonna say maybe?
I want to say there's, like, a really sweaty
maybe.
kid.
Oh, there's a really sweaty kid in, what is it? That's So Raven. They had a really sweaty kid. There might be a sweaty kid in both
the teacher.
of those.
There was the teacher that always spit when he talked.
There was that one, too. Yeah. That was kind of the genre of humor back during the Nickelodeon and, like, Disney days. Yeah.
It's just people sweaty and then people spitting.
Yeah, just like a lot of physical comedy based on, like, disgusting character traits. Much like Smelly Gabe, actually.
So, but the problem, though, is, like, here, your name's Krusty. Don't just change your name. It's not a good nickname. Especially if you're, like, in the business world. You want to have, like, a name that's, like, Man Salesman or something.
I'm Guy Normal.
I'm Hugh Man.
What strikes me as weird about this place, other than the obvious weird things that we will eventually talk about, is that it's not even just a place where you buy beds or mattresses. It's a specific waterbed store, which I don't think is a thing.
Oh, it's a thing.
Just waterbeds exclusively, because I don't even... How much difference could there be in a waterbed? I guess sometimes some are heated or something, which is, again, the concept of feeling like you're drowning all night is distressing to me.
Yeah. There's plenty of waterbed stores near my area.
You just Googled it?
Yeah, there's one 26 miles away.
Does it have waterbed in the title?
Yes.
Oh my god.
It's called the Waterbed Doctor.
The Waterbed Doctor? What? Because he fixes waterbeds? I just got an ad. I Googled it, said, only waterbed store in New Jersey.
Everything's legal in New Jersey. I mean, there's, like, specialty stores about everything. There's a Funko Pop store.
Well, that doesn't surprise me, actually.
Like, I would imagine probably in the 90s there was, like, a Beanie Baby store. They only sold Beanie Babies. So it's like...
For sure, there was a Beanie Baby store. Like, there had to be. Have you ever seen that picture from, like, the early 90s where the couple's getting divorced and they're divvying up their Beanie Baby collection and they're wearing, like, really bad dated clothes?
Yeah, they're on their knees, like kids.
Yeah, it's really great.
Okay, just imagine like that poor judge and the jury like watching this happen.
Yeah, them being like, well, I absolutely have to have old face magenta.
Just imagine like they have to have like the security guards, like one of them grabs the beat, like that's not in your court order. You can't have him. And then it starts getting into like a fist scuff.
You don't have custody of Jimmy the bear.
Do they get like visiting rights? Because I know you can do that with dogs now. So if you get like a divorce, you can actually ask for visiting rights just for your pets.
That's really sad.
So besides this demon specialty store that sells like water beds that have like lava lamps and like every possible thing that like you don't want to mix water, electricity, and heat.
Tacky, horrible 70s designs.
So basically these water death traps.
You have that and like a sunken living room, and then you're just good to go.
Not even that. I just imagine like the people that like own these water beds are just everything is wood paneled.
Yeah, wood paneling, sunken living room, everything's carpeted, shag carpeting. Everything's like either like avocado green or harvest gold.
No, harvest no, like
orange.
Amber yellow.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of Match Game 77.
I also feel like everything about like their just eating arrangement, it's always the same four things like meatloaf, pork chops, applesauce, and like a pot roast.
Yeah, pot roast. Pot roast isn't that bad, but yeah.
They only drive a station wagon, and I'm just describing the Brady Bunch because that's all they watch on TV is the Brady Bunch.
It is the Brady Bunch, kind of. I love how their dad was supposed to be an architect, I think. And he was just like, here's our beautiful, weird-looking home.
But yeah, so this waterbed place is a monstrosity.
It's horrible.
Krusty, the clerk, I'm just going to use more like...
Krusty the Clown.
Krusty, hey, kids. This seems like a front he would have, and then in the back there would be a casino gambling.
I wouldn't be surprised.
This Krusty the clerk, because I'm going to be let's use more alliteration here, puts Annabeth and Grover on a waterbed just to show them the new latest model, and then he says the magic word, and then ropes appear.
Ergo. And then...
Argo?
Argo?
Is Ben Affleck here?
I think it's ergo, but I don't know.
It's Argo.
Oh. Alright, there's an E, but
I'm talking about the movie Argo, not
ergo is the magic word, I think.
We're not professionals whatsoever.
Is it Yanni or is it Laurel?
Let's get out of this podcast, please.
This meme is already several weeks old.
Yeah, so Percy's trying to figure out what's going on because good old Krusty turns out to be
Procrustes. We could look up a pronunciation. Hold on. Okay, we were saying it right. Procrustes. Just like what it says on the tin.
So Procrustes, it turns out to be a monster that literally kills with kindness.
And stretches people to death, which is...
Because he has a bit of OCD where he's like, everyone has to be exactly 6 feet to fit these beds.
Yeah. You got everything in its place, a place for everything, and I guess you're going to be on the 6 foot long bed and be 6 feet long. This is just very physically distressing, thinking about this torture device, which is basically what it is. It's a torture device.
Which they put ropes, it's kind of like quartering, where they put ropes in your arms and legs and they start stretching you.
Yeah. Horrible. But then, Percy tricks Krusty.
He does?
Because he's like, hey, this bed is pretty good. Do you want to lie on this bed? And because I guess Krusty's an idiot, he lies down on the bed.
Well, no, it's kind of like, no, way. Nah, yeah. Okay, I'll try it. Don't try it. I'll try it. It's like duck season, rabbit season a little bit. So Procrustes gets on the bed, and Percy says the magical words, which strap Procrustes to the good old bed. And then Percy murders the man.
He murders him. He just slices his head off with Riptide.
Procrustes is like begging for his life. He's like giving him like ultimatums, but hey, I'll give you like 60% off, no down payment, all these things. And Percy, I'm surprised he didn't do like a Woody one-liner like everything's half off.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, he murders this guy in cold blood.
Is it going to be cash or credit?
And then he frees Annabeth.
And then he makes another stupid joke, which I love. Is like, I think you got a little taller there, Annabeth.
You look taller.
Percy, they almost died. Don't make jokes.
Like, yeah, what a jerk, right? I mean, he did help them, so it's fine. But, and then, again, like in this sort of like weird fate kind of way, they see a path forward because on Krusty's bulletin board is like the location of the underworlds.
Which is only 2 blocks away, which in California standards is like 6 hours. It is so confusing to like walk down like West Hollywood or like any place in Los Angeles because things just don't make sense. It's not like they're like
It's not a
out.
grid system. Like
It's
New
not
York.
a grid system whatsoever. And this is before Uber, so it's not like they could hop into another car, use their credit card, and just be there. They gotta.
Well, their luck, Uber would, like, the guy driving the Uber would just be a different mythical creature trying to kill them. So.
Percy Jackson and the weird Uber driver.
Haven't we all had one of those?
I've had some interesting Uber drivers in my time.
I haven't had, like, actually a lot of, like, rideshare drivers because I just use taxis in the city. But, yeah. Also, there's, like, no Uber around here because it's too small. It's, like, not worth it for people. There's, like, a couple Uber drivers.
So the chapter ends with them going to DOA Records, and this is where they'll be going to the underworld next.
Yep.
Which I like this chapter because it was less exposition, more action. But, you know, again, this is the great thing I love about the chapter is, like, Percy actually talks to Annabeth and Grover about his dreams again. And they kind of, like, trying to figure out, is it Hades, is it not?
They kind of don't really know, basically.
They don't really know, and I like that more because it's less about, it's like, you were my friend. Why did you lie to me about this one little detail?
Yeah. I find that so exhausting a little bit, where it's like, oh, you withheld this a little bit of information. Now I don't trust you at all. And you like know they're going to get along eventually, but it's just kind of like manufactured drama. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. That I find that kind of tired.
I really enjoyed this chapter just because, you know, we actually had 2 mythological elements. We kind of learned the story about, you know, sea spirits and like.
Yeah, that was fun.
As well as we learned about Krusty, the klepto crazy man.
Krusty the lounge lizard, proprietor of the waterbed store. Yeah. I mean, Riordan really heavily relies on tropes, so it doesn't. I will say that he doesn't feel super original sometimes. Like the whole like lounge lizard character who like runs like a skeezy kind of store. I could see that in like a lot of other things, I'm sure. Even like, you know, like the gang of like snotty kids who attack them. That's like maybe my only criticism about some of the plot points is even though that like the way he does it is interesting because it's like through the lens of mythological creatures and he contextualizes them, and I think that's what makes it interesting. But sometimes like the character descriptions are a little bit like depend heavily on like archetypes.
Yeah, no, I think as the series goes along, it does get more, I guess, centered in a specific way. But this is, you know, this is the road trip. So, of course, they're going to meet a bunch of colorful characters.
Yeah, the colorful characters thing is, again, like super common in like a road trip cross-country kind of story. So I get it. It's not like I'm admonishing the whole book because of it.
Well, I mean, also, if you look at a movie like Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which
I was just thinking of
one
Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It's totally like that.
It's like how when he meets like the prisoner and they're driving in the road and then he just meets Large Marge. And then after that, like he meets the girl in the Casbian Dinosaurs exhibit.
Yeah, there has to be sort of like the colorful cast of characters in it, and I totally get that. I think it's like it's a fair basis for like the characters are a little bit cartoony, but that's fine for a kid's book, especially like a mythological kid's book.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Some of my gripes that I have with these books actually just might be a little bit of my bias because the books that I read are much longer than these, so I'm expecting more out of like characterization as well as like pacing. Whereas I'm expecting like I can read a 500, 600 to even like 1,000-page book and like I'm going to get all this information but as a slow build rather than like it's happening super fast.
Yeah.
Which I like this book because it is a quick read, but also there's so much information that it has to be condensed in this sort of way.
Again, I feel like I'm backtracking a little bit because I did say that it was a criticism, but it's, that this chapter is terrible because it relies on some tropey stuff. I still think it's fun, which is kind of the purpose of this book, right? It's to be fun so kids learn things. So if he has to depend on kind of cartoony characterizations, that's fine. It's still interesting to read. I didn't find it like boring to read, which is...
Oh yeah, no. I agree with you. So far throughout this book, has it been fun, or has it been like kind of like?
I've had a fun time reading this book a lot. It's kind of weird that we're almost done with it, because it's such a strange, like, drawn out process of like really deep diving on each individual chapter, and I've never, even as a literature student, I never had the time to go so like through it like with a fine-tooth comb, like look at every single chapter and consider each individual character. Like it's kind of more of like the gestalt of the whole book, or you like point to a specific passage or something with like close reading. But it's been like really beneficial and interesting to read a book for the first time in a genre that I'm familiar with in like such a methodical way. I wonder if my opinion would be different if I had just like read it in an afternoon or something, read it over a couple days. If I would have found it more fun, or if I wouldn't have appreciated some of like the more subtle, interesting things going on if I didn't like take the time to look over each individual reference.
I mean, also with this, I think this series is more beneficial to read it like chapter by chapter, because it's kind of like the way I would consider Rick Riordan would want to have these books read, and how each episode or chapter is like a little bit of a lesson.
Yeah.
But I can understand, like, I've binge read these books before, and it's kind of like things start to like mesh together. Like, I can remember concepts, but I can't remember like myths themselves.
Yeah, even I guess in a way, the way like we're reading this is like the best way, because you really focus on each individual reference and like what like mythological thing it's trying to teach, which I think maybe some kids might not remember.
No, because there's like the concepts that I totally forgot about that happened in these books, and I was like taking the time and really like putting the breaks down, because for us, I would consider B and I are really fast readers at times.
Yeah.
If we're interested in something, we can consume.
It depends on the book, but yeah.
We can consume media at a really rapid rate. Like for me, I can read true crime and I can read Goosebumps books in a few hours. Goosebumps I can read in like maybe an hour. So B, did you get any messages this week?
Yes. Hold on a sec. Maybe I didn't, and I'm remembering. That's the thing about having two podcasts, is sometimes you get a message about one podcast and you think it's about the other. Tumblr user Brightfire Tallykins messaged me and said, "Hi B, I'm loving your Camp Half-Blood podcast. I just had a request for a bonus episode after you finish Lightning Thief. There is an off-Broadway Lightning Thief musical, and I think it would be fun if you reviewed the album, which you can find on YouTube. Thanks for your awesome podcasts." We've actually considered this already.
Yes, and it would be really interesting because my background is in technical theater and musical theater. And I have not gotten a chance to listen to this or seen the show. There's going to be a show touring soon. We have stuff in the works, possibly listening to the album. We might not do like, it would be fun to do maybe not a commentary, but just like talk about the musical
like an
as
album
a whole.
Commentary thing we could do.
It's kind of, but it's hard because it's like you.
Yeah, maybe not
track
that.
by track. We're trying to figure out a way to do it, because the problem though is, how I would watch and want to review it would be actually seeing the show, but seeing how it's just touring, we can't at the moment. I mean, I'd love to get maybe someone that worked on the show to come on and kind of talk about it
wink,
a
wink.
little bit. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But, we'll see. We have something planned. We haven't figured out the details yet, but yes, we'd like to do something with it. There's other media. Once we finish this, we're going to have an audio commentary on the actual movie, The Lightning Thief. B has not seen it. I've seen it once in my life.
It looks like a garbage fire.
It is a garbage fire. You know what? I'm going to be the snobbiest movie snob possible with that movie.
Yeah, there's two, right?
Oh, there's two.
So we're gonna
unfortunately.
watch probably the first one after we finish this book, and then
Yeah.
the second one after the second book, and then thankfully we're out of movies.
Sometimes I wish I had like a hollowed out tooth with like a cyanide capsule just for those special movies where I just don't want to watch anymore and just check out.
Hollowed out tooth with a cyanide capsule. Yeah.
Sorry. Dune jokes.
Yeah, but we have something planned in the works.
Yeah.
So
we'll definitely we're considering something. So keep an eye out.
we didn't get any new emails this week, but we did get a new iTunes review.
We did, yes.
So thank you so much from Total Fandom Freak. Hi, this is my first podcast. Thank you so much for fulfilling my life with happiness every week or so. I've tried other podcasts after this, but this is all I want. I already love this. But then Billy did something that tied my soul to this. She mentioned how it should have ended. That is my all-time favorite YouTube channel. Please watch the Hobbit trilogy. It is so funny. I feel like you would like it. Anyway, thank you once again. Zach or Zach, why do you keep telling everyone to stay mortal? I'm Elvin. Being immortal is great. B, do you still watch How It Should Have Ended?
I think I literally haven't watched it in maybe 10 years.
Yeah, same. The problem though is like for me when it comes to like The Hobbit is I could probably watch that and think it's funny, but I hate The Hobbit, so I'm so sorry.
Well, I mean, you hate the movie The Hobbit, but I'm pretty sure How It Should Have Ended is making fun of how bad the movie is.
Yes, if you want like a really good version of that, watch Lindsay Ellis's like 85-part retrospective on The Hobbit.
Where she actually went to, I almost said New Jersey. She went to New Zealand.
Lindsay, you should come on the show so we could talk about New Jersey now. I would love to have Lindsay Ellis on our show.
Yeah, that would
oh
be
my
awesome.
God.
I don't know if she would have opinions about Percy Jackson, but it would be awesome.
I'm sure she would. If you gave her the book, she could
Yeah.
give you total... Thank you so much for that wonderful review. I mean, I guess to finish answering that little question, why we keep saying, stay immortal, it's just our little tagline because, honestly, being immortal kind of sucks.
No, yeah, it doesn't sound great to me. I would rather be mortal.
I would rather like to die a nice peaceful death than watching everyone around me slowly wither and die.
This is a very sad way to end the episode. Just be like,
this is a total sad way, but it's like we gotta bring up why everyone should want to stay mortal rather than immortal. I mean, like if you think about it, being immortal does really suck because time changes. You're gonna see the same 6 conflicts happen all over again.
But war never changes.
Yeah, war. Okay, imagine to the point of where this is what I always remember. Someone that told me is stuck with me. You're immortal, okay? The sun goes out. You're still immortal. You're now in pitch blackness for the rest of time.
Yeah.
Doomed to a world that is cold and dead. Doesn't sound that appetizing, does it now?
Yeah. Not a fun time. I mean, if you want to be immortal, then I guess. If you could find a way to be immortal, then, I don't know, tell Dr. Oz, and I'm sure he would have you on his show.
So you have a cure to be immortal, eh? Well, you just rub some canola oil on yourself, and there you go.
Yeah, it's a superfood.
It's a superfood, like kale and chocolate.
If you eat chocolate-covered kale, then you'll live forever.
Oh,
But
Dr.
only
Oz.
if you eat these immuno-boosting power packets.
Every time I think of Dr. Oz, I think of getting a haircut.
Why?
Because that's usually when usually when I get a haircut, Dr. Oz is on.
Oh, just like in the waiting room or something.
So you're forced to watch Dr. Oz talk about nothing.
Daytime talk show. Good old Mehmet Oz.
Yeah, thanks again so much for that wonderful little review. We really appreciate every review that we get because, it helps boost our numbers a little bit, but also it's a way to, see how we're doing on the show because we're already up to like 42 reviews. That's
Yeah, 42.
I don't
That's
even
so
know.
awesome.
I can't even pay 42 people off to like make a review like that.
Yeah, we couldn't even bribe that many people. I don't even know if I know 42 people.
Yeah, it's like maybe like 1 or 2, but like even like I don't even know any of the people that have reviewed this podcast at all. It's truly amazing how this show has been like we've been like getting much popular, which is really weird because it's like it's just 2 friends talking about books that we like as well as just random
asides about Dr. Oz and the Lollipop Guilds and Star Wars and Harry Potter and Back to the Future. Oh, Back to the Future should be on the bingo board. for sure.
Oh, yes. Great Scott, you're right.
Yeah, or any Christopher Lloyd reference for that matter. Taxi, sitcoms. There's a lot
I
of stuff.
was frozen today. You are looking for an adventure.
Uh,
What other Christopher Lloyd jokes could I make today?
I
don't
know.
have any more.
I can't think of other things he's been in.
Oh, he was in Clue.
He was in Cyber Chase.
Oh, he was in Cyber Chase. He was also
Hacker.
Judge Dredd in... Wait, No, not Judge Dredd. Oh my god, that'd be awesome, though. Judge Doom in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, right,
Judge
yes.
Dredd is Carl Urban. And
Where his
Sylvester
eyeballs become
Stallone.
all cartoony and horrifying. And he
When
melts.
I killed your brother, I talked just like this!
Horrifying.
Oh, we're just spoiling all these good movies.
I'm sorry, but if you haven't seen that movie by now, come on. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a classic.
I'm Zach.
I'm B.
And keep staying mortal. Bye.
Bye.